Welcome back to another edition of the podcast, and tonight is our Game Week 2 preview. But before we do that, let's reflect on Game Week 1. In the opening game weeks, we saw 37 goals across the division, 3 red cards, and Gateshead are currently top of the league. Paul, firstly then, what a mad game week that was. But firstly, how are you doing? Of course, Wealdstone did lose on the opening day. Do you read too much into that? Are you concerned at all, or...?
No, I mean, I was fortunate enough to be able to see it. So I think there's a lot of positives to take out. I know that's what our manager has said as well, and they're always going to be positive. I think maybe the concerning thing in the game was the fact that Dagenham really didn't look too sort of threatening up top. Dion Pereira is a good player, and I would suggest that he's definitely one to watch in this league for assists, etc. this season. You know, he was their real go-to man, and we gifted them a couple of goals, Luke. You know, and it's in this league you've got to be better in your both boxes, and we've missed an absolute sitter. Dom Hutchison's missed a one-on-one at 1-1 to take it to 2-1 to Stones with sort of whatever 20 minutes left, and you know, it could have been a massively different story. So, listen, that concerning a little bit that we've got a few injuries. So that could hurt us in the next couple of weeks. We've got Oldham and then Sutton coming up. So that, you know, tough couple of games. So both at home, which is an advantage. So listen, I'm not too concerned. I think we'll be okay. There was lots of positives in it. We just got to be a little bit better in both boxes. And that it's not the first time Wealdstone have been like that. So, you know, that's why we're in the bottom half, not the top half.
It's only game week 1, and, you know, we saw a lot of sides across the division have quite poor first game weeks. You know, Barnet losing on the opening day, they came in as title favourites, and, you know, there's been a lot of talk around them, hasn't there now, losing to our boys. Halifax, I was buzzing after that result. But, you know, Bromley had a difficult start last season. They actually lost to us on the opening day. I think they had like 2 points after 5 games, and they went on to gain promotion. So at this stage, results on the opening game week mean very little. I think we're going to come straight to the live chat then before we do get on to tonight's topics, as people have been in. Of course, everyone, you can become a channel member for, I think it's £2.99 a month. You get to have your club badge in the live chat. You should be able to use that. There's also going to be other perks that we're going to add in the future, including bonus interviews as well. Harry's come in tonight and said, evening, lads. He's a York fan. Welcome, Harry, to the stream. Villa TV, who's I think also a Tamworth fan, and said, up the Tamworth. Yeah, they were side opening game week, managed to get off to getting the first point in the National League. They might feel like they were a little bit disappointed because they conceded in the last minute to Sutton. And it's games like that. I know we're only on the opening game week, and we've just spoke, haven't we, about it being so early on in the season. But it's games like that at the end of the season where, do you think for Tamworth it could come back to bite them? Their 2 points dropped.
Yeah, I think so, Luke. It's always the ifs and buts, you know, whether you're going for promotion or trying to save your relegation. And you know, you always look at particular games in the season, and Tamworth, Boston, you know, the likes of who else came up? It's got out of my head. Braintree, Yeovil. You know, they want a good start. They want points on the board. So, you know, they'll kick themselves because they've probably got a fully fit squad and they're all buzzing and raring to go. And again, they'll probably look at it and say they'll learn from it. They've got to learn from it, and they'll realise that they're now not in the regional leagues. They're in the top league of non-league and a professional league in all but name. And you get punished if you don't defend well. You don't take your chances. You get punished in this league.
Yeah, I think for all the sides who gained promotion last season, they've had a difficult start, haven't they, on the opening game week? None of them have actually won. And I think it was only actually Tamworth who managed to pick up a point at all. So, yeah, it's been a difficult start for them. But I think it were a similar situation last season. I think Ebbsfleet did okay. But apart from that, I think Fylde struggled. The other 2 sides who got promoted struggled as well. You know, it seems to take sides quite a bit of time to get used to the National League because it is such a big step up. And, you know, even for your Yeovils, who, of course, lost on the opening day, you know, gaining promotion back into the National League, it's a totally different environment now to when they firstly got relegated. So I don't think it's too concerning for sides who are struggling at the moment. Ash has come in, who was actually our first member. He's an Aldershot fan, so you should be able to use your badge in the live chat. And he's also said, even though I hope you're all well, I'll be heading up to the Share this weekend to see Aldershot get all 3 points. Yeah, we will see about that. Just as a heads up for Aldershot fans, I'm pleased to announce that I'll also be commentating on that game with BBC Radio. So I am buzzing for that. Paul, it was you gave me my first opportunity commentating last season. I'd like to think I've improved slightly since then because I was very nervous doing that. But no, I'm buzzing to be able to do it on Saturday. And then Caroline become the second member of the channel. Thank you very much, Caroline. We do really appreciate it. Please let us know what club you do support. And if your badge is not there, I will add it after the stream for future streams as well. And then Toby, who I believe is a Braintree fan, talking about promoted sides, not impressed after losing 4-0 to Oldham. And, I have to hold my hands up here. I did actually predict Braintree to get all 3 points. I thought it was going to be a massive banana skin for Oldham. But to be fair to Oldham, that was the first win at home for them since first opening game week win in over 9 years. So, yeah, very good and professional performance, I would say, from Oldham. But how do you see it from Braintree's perspective? Because they've had a lot of new signings, haven't they?
Yeah, there's no disgrace in losing to Oldham as a newly promoted side. Again, I know we talk about it, but look where Oldham have come from and look where Braintree have come from. So you're going to you should expect a result like that, and that's no disrespect to Braintree, So, like we said, Oldham have got to really get their act together at some point, and it could be this season. I know we've had differing views around what they might do, Luke, and you got a bit of flack because of it, but that was the sort of statement result that they needed to get their season going, especially at Boundary Park. So I don't think there's any disgrace in losing 4-0. Clearly, we didn't see the game, so we don't know how Braintree have played. If you look at the 5-1 demolition of Ebbsfleet by Gateshead, and I've listened to the Ebbsfleet manager's after match interview, and he just said he just didn't recognise his players. So I don't know in terms of how Braintree set up and were expected to play and how they did or didn't play. So I suppose that would be the concerning thing. But listen, 4-0 away to Oldham, that's one of the results they got to put down to and just say, we'll learn from it, we'll move on, we'll get better because of it. They'll probably play, worse maybe and win. They'll probably play better and they lose again. So it's the first game. Apart from a bit of confidence, there's not much else to look into it.
I think as a Braintree fan and Harrop as well, the manager, I think you have to put it down as just it was a free hit. A day out at Oldham, it was more about the occasion than actually picking up a result. And now, they're back at home against Yeovil, who also got promoted from the National League South next season on Saturday. You'd like to think that they'll be going into that game with a little bit more confidence, and there's clearly going to be more of a chance, I think, for them to win that game. But it still will be a tough game. Yeah, it was named on Twitter on numerous occasions. We've been called the anti-Oldham podcast. To be fair, I know I predicted Oldham to lose on the opening day, and I didn't give them a very nice prediction in our predictions video, but you've been quite complimentary to them. You put them fifth, and apparently we've had Oldham fans actually come on and say, look, the podcast is okay. It's just that throughout last season as well, you were very negative on them, and it's not something that I've ever noticed, to be honest. I don't think we have done. I knew I'd get stick with the prediction, but
Luke, listen, we're looking at it from the outside, and we could see the frustrations that Oldham fans had, and we're not even Oldham fans, and we could see not necessarily what was going wrong, but we could see the frustrations that they were having, and quite clearly they weren't having the season that should be expected of them from anyone who's in the National League as a fan or a blogger or a YouTuber, what have you. So I think we weren't unduly negative. I think we were just honest in our appraisal of what Oldham were doing at the time, and if they, hand on heart, they would look at it and say, yeah, we had the same feeling. I went there last game of the season. They couldn't go up, they couldn't go down. And there was 4,000 to 5,000 people there when probably should be 6,000 to 7,000, if not 8,000 or 9,000. So, they needed to do something on Saturday. They've done it. They come to us on Saturday at the Vale. It's another winnable game for them. All of a sudden, they've got 2 wins out of 2 against 2 unfancied sides, which last season, the season before, they probably would slip up on. If they win Saturday, it's going to look a lot better for them, even just 2 games in. So, listen, I think, like I said, they've just got to get their act together. And if they get their act together, they're going to be a force in this league.
Yeah, I just like to just give my opinion on Oldham and, the criticism that we've got. How I see it is, would you rather give my actual opinion and be honest, or would you rather me just think about the so-called, the bigger clubs, because Oldham are probably them and Southend are probably the 2 biggest clubs in this division. That's no disrespect to any other clubs, but it just is on the history of both clubs. Would you rather me just say those 2 are going to piss the league and that those 2 are going to be title favourites, or would you rather be honest about my predictions? And that's all I'm going to say on it. I'm not anti-Oldham. I respect the club, everything that they've actually gone through. And to be fair, I'd like to see them turn a corner this season, to be fair, and get inside the playoffs, because we all know Oldham shouldn't be in this division at all. But when I look at the squad, and I'm standing by it now, I still don't think that they're going to be able to get out of this division this season. And, Oldham fans can clip that if they want, but that's just my honest opinion. And then we've actually had an Oldham fan who's come in. Our fan from Melbourne has actually said, "Happy Friday from Melbourne." It's always confusing, isn't it? Because they always say the day after when it's from different countries and stuff. It's put encouraging start from Latics, great 3-0 win without our best striker, Garner and Norwood, keeping a lid on it at present. Watch out, Wheelstone on Saturday. Yeah, you boys have clearly got them on Saturday. And that's another thing I think to credit Oldham about, is Norwood wasn't even playing and they still won 3-0. And I don't, as an Oldham fan, I think Oldham fans will know not to get carried away with it, but you have to say that was a very good result. And now going to Wheelstone, who've lost on the opening day, you have to be confident going into that game.
Oh yeah, and without a shadow of a doubt, and Wheelstone have got, as we said, a couple of injuries. The squad is still fairly new. They're not as experienced, I would suggest, in the National League with what we've got available than maybe Oldham are. We're at home at the Vale, so I think that does help us. And we've always fared well against Oldham in the last few seasons. I could be wrong. I don't know whether we've actually lost to them or not. So, we've had some good performances against them. They're a good team to watch. They'll bring a lot of fans, and the Vale will be good on Saturday. It should be sunny and warm and good conditions for football. So, I'll give my prediction later, but I'm just hoping out that that we can still get something from them.
Yeah, I think that's something you've got to be optimistic. Wheelstone last season were pretty good at home, wasn't they? And that wasn't you, and that's why I think you stayed up in the end, because your away form I don't think has been good for a number of seasons now. So being back at home, you have to go into that. It's not somewhere that I think historically the bigger clubs actually like going to, somewhere like Wheelstone due to the pitch and it being quite a tight, the fans very close to the pitch. It's a really difficult place to go, and I know that from my time with Halifax. Last season we lost there and we couldn't play our usual football. Wheelstone dominated the ball, and I think the previous season as well, he turned us over there as well. Chris Stringer, who's an Oldham fan, has come in, who's from France. Oldham are going global at the moment. He said, "Hiya lads, Oldham, definitely playoffs this season. Good result for Halifax." Yeah, it certainly was. And then we've had Naylor, who is a Southend fan, and said, "Southend proved in the first half against York, if we don't sit back, allowing teams to push against us, we are a real contender for the league." Yeah, I put you guys second. Paul, I think, did you say fourth? Was it? I think.
It was definitely in the playoffs. I haven't got. Hang on, I might have my list here, to be honest. Fourth. Yeah, fourth. And I had York as 8. It's interesting because if obviously I didn't see the game, but that quick sort of synopsis: if we don't sit back, allow teams to push against us, a contender for the league, I think York are one of those teams that if you do sit back against them with the how that Hinchelwood plays, and you imagine, you've got Joe Felix on the wing, who we know from the National League South days, and you've got Pearce up top. Very good signings. They're going to punish you because they've got natural goal scorers and natural front players that would like to play on the front foot. So, I think from York's perspective, if that's how they're going to play, teams have to counter that by sort of pressing a bit more. And if Southend have dropped off, I'm not surprised that York have got something out of the game.
Yeah, I know from what I heard from that game and the highlights as well. You know, that was the first game on the new broadcasting software. Is it Dan's? I think it's called DAZN. I know apparently, well, when I saw the highlights, Southend, of course, took the lead, and York probably were unfortunate not to go on to win that game. John Lewis coming on and scoring an equaliser. So for me, it was quite a hard game to call, and I kind of had a bit of a cop out and thought I'd go for a 1-1 draw. And, you know, that was one of my better predictions of the game week. 3 points for myself. Yeah, that's something we'll mention shortly, Paul. We've had Hiccup, who's coming, of course, an Aldershot vlogger. He's not been vlogging for some time now, but he did actually do a vlog for the opening game. So I'm hoping that when you come up to Halifax, you are going to vlog the game. And he's said here it's going to be an easy 3 points on Saturday. Hiccup, can I please tell you, when is it ever easy, even when you've beaten us, when has it ever been easy to beat Halifax before? Can I just say that? But yeah, I'm looking forward to you hopefully doing a vlog on that. And then Chris has come in, who's a Chesterfield fan. It's good to see that we've got the boys from Chesterfield still tuning in. You know, we often get the odd Wrexham or Notts County fan tune in still, so it's good to see that there's still that kind of connection there. It says still tuning in, Chesterfield fan. Think Halifax will do well this season. Do they still have a 12th man in their pitch, or has it improved? As Barnet fans, it certainly had improved on the opening game week. It probably won't look like that in February, let's put it this way. And then Mr. Luke is in. Evening, Paul and Luke. Hope you two are well. Fantastic win for us on Saturday, top of the league. Let's end the season now. You know the drill. No pressure whatsoever. Yeah, a great opening game week for Gateshead. And they're a side for me, when I'm looking at the sides that potentially I might have underestimated, although I put them 8, I think I might have underestimated them. I think they're going to be well inside the playoffs and potentially top 3, because I don't know if you saw the highlights, Paul, but some of those goals were just like EFL quality. They were quality goals. You know, Luke Williamson obviously left the side last season, and there was a lot of concerns, wasn't there about, you know, his style of football being taken away from the football club. Players were going to move on, and they actually did. He did take players from Gateshead to MK Dons, but they've kept the blueprint there under Rob Elliott. And, you know, even this season they've lost Ed Francis. Dinango, I know, had a poor end to last season, but he's still a goal scorer who they lost. And on the opening game week, there's nothing to say why they won't be up there again this season. You know, Owen Ostenye has come in from Russell Olympic, scored 8 goals in 15 appearances last season. He seemed to impress and has been one of the main talking points on Twitter surrounding the National League this week. Greg Orley, of course, got a hat-trick, someone who didn't play too many games last season for Gateshead. So for me, there's nothing to suggest that they're not going to be up there again this season. What were your thoughts on Gateshead on the opening game week?
I wasn't surprised. You know, the pitches are going to be in fine fettle at the moment, aren't they, across the country? So, and Gateshead can play. We know that they're probably the best footballing team in the league. So, I wasn't surprised at all. Having seen Ebbsfleet, I thought defensively they got better last season. And I have put them in the bottom 4, and I know it's only after 1 game, but they've got to improve. You can't allow to 5 goals away from home. You know, it just doesn't happen. It shouldn't happen. And you have your off days, but an off day on your first day of the season is a little bit concerning. But, you know, I don't think their manager was there was no knee-jerk reaction. I think he just put it down to it was one of those things. He didn't recognise them. They'll go back to the drawing board. No doubt that he's probably given them the hairdryer treatment, and they'll go again on Saturday. You know, who have they got on Saturday? Got Barnet at home. Another tough game, but, you know, at least it's at their home ground, and Barnet are coming off a disappointing loss because they are the favourites, not because they, you know, Halifax. Again, there's no disgrace losing to Halifax at the Shea. So, yeah, that's a tough one for them. I'm not surprised about Gateshead. Rob Elliott's probably one of the most underrated managers. You know, Luke Williams was before. Sorry, not Luke Williams. Mike Williamson was before. Similar to like Stuart Maynard, like Luke Williams was at County. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the next manager that sort of goes from the National League, if it's not with Gateshead, into the EFL.
Yeah, I'd agree on that. And then we've also had coming tonight we've had someone said, how did Zach Emerson look, Luke? Oldham fan. Yeah, I think he did actually play for Oldham for a short period. He only came on, but I like the look of his, his build. To me, look, I'm hoping he's going to be a goal scorer, because that's something we've missed. We've missed an out-and-out goal scorer in the last couple of seasons. But for me, I think it's just going to be more of the same from Halifax. I think everyone's going to chip in with goals this season, and I am pretty optimistic, especially after the opening game week, about Halifax this season. Someone said shots attack non-stop. Yeah, that's something as well with Aldershot. It felt like more of the same from them this season. Stokes and Tolladges had obviously left the side in the summer, yet they still scored 3 goals on the opening game week. There were a lot of talk about them being stronger defensively this season, yet they still conceded 3 goals. So I just put it down to the way that Aldershot play, to be honest. I just think they always go in with the opinion of each game. They go in with thinking that, we're going to outscore sides. We don't care how many goals we're going to concede. We're just going to outscore sides. And I think that's going to be more the same this season. Is that something that you agree with, Paul, on Aldershot?
Yeah, I mean, they were very, when I saw them last season, they were very good and they're quite patient and they pick you off. But they're going to be disappointed, aren't they? They were 2-0 up against Forest Green Rovers at home. I don't think there's going to be maybe too many teams that are going to be 2-0 up against Forest Green Rovers once they get into the groove of it, because I can see them being strong. So to be 2-0 up against a team like that and to sort of have to pull it back to 3-3 is going to be slightly frustrating for them. But that's not surprising. We saw Aldershot at the back end of last season, sort of just drop away when the chance was there to consolidate a playoff place or get in there. They kind of just dropped away, and I think they are a young side. I know James Henry got the equaliser in the sort of 10 minutes ago. He came on as a sub. He's a good signing in the midfield, like we said before. But they're a relatively young side, I think, Aldershot across the board. So they're gonna learn from it again. I think there's a lot of learning will come out of the first week of where are the players at. What's the standard like? Adjustments for those that have come into the league, be it out of academies or from the lower end or lower divisions, or even those that probably haven't played too much last season. So there'll be a lot of learning out of the first week. You can't really look too much into it until sort of maybe 10, 11, 12 games have gone. But in isolation, you've got to be either happy or concerned over how the team performed. And I guess if that carries on for 2 or 3, it gets a bit more concerning. If you can turn the corner and arrest that sort of slide or slump of performance, then you're going to be a bit more confident about the rest of the season.
Beardy's come in and said, I think this might be a Halifax fan. Luke, we will stay under the radar and hopefully get a few wins under our belts. Yeah, let's hope so. And then we've also had another Oldham fan who's in tonight. He said, come on, Latix. He said, good signings in Caprice and Month. And then we've had a Southend fan that's come in and said Saturday was a bit of a shit show, but we'll be fine when we get an attacking midfielder in, linked to George Moncu. He was at Leighton Orient at the moment. Create a little bit, not concerned. York were very good. Yeah, I was speaking to a Southend fan online, and he was saying that apparently the only thing we're missing is that attacking midfielder. I think they're also probably missing a little bit of pace down the flanks as well. I know they play a 5-back, but I still feel they need a little bit of pace down the flanks for me. But yeah, an attacking midfielder for them, I think could do the world of good. And then we've had Villa TV said, I'm going to York Saturday. Great point for us versus Sutton. We was all over them second half, but their keeper's so good. 2-1 versus York, I reckon, up the Reds. Yeah, that'll be a good day out for you guys. And then we've also had who's come in. Hiccups come back in and said, I will be there and there will be a vlog, don't you worry. I'm predicting a 1-1 draw, especially after that impressive win over Barnet. Yeah, it's a very hard game to predict for myself, to be honest, when I've been trying to draw it up today. And then we've also had, as a Heat fan, we couldn't have asked for a better start to the season. I honestly think if we don't make playoffs, again, it'll be a disappointment. Only downside was the injury to Joe Grayson. And then Chris Stringer's coming, and this is one of the points I wanted to talk a bit about tonight. Do you two think Nick Horton will get signed by an EFL club before their deadline? Yeah, Nick Horton, we'll answer that question shortly, but for him, he's been a player that's been around non-league for a number of years now and has ripped it up for Fylde. You know, he's stayed with Fylde throughout that time. You know, he's actually scored 89 goals for Fylde. He's surely going to be on to score probably about 100 goals this season, at the end of the season for Fylde, and that is some milestone. But the strange thing about him is that he's never made that move into the Football League whilst he's been with Fylde. And I want to ask you, Paulis, what's your personal opinions on him staying in the National League with Fylde? Because, you know, even other National League sides that you might say are particularly bigger with bigger budgets, no disrespect, you know, the likes of Oldham, you'd like to think sides like that would be sniffing at him if you don't want to make the move into the Football League.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because if he's a Fylde lad or a local lad, and you know he's clearly been very loyal to him, they've given him the opportunity, and he's proven himself at every level. And there'll come a tipping point, I guess, where he'll sort of just have to say, "Do I take this chance or not?" But ultimately, Luke, you know, playing in the EFL or playing in the National League when you're full time, is there a massive amount of difference? You know, does it going and playing in League Two? Yes, it's a better league than National League, but you're full time, you're happy with your wages, you're settled in the area, whatever it may be. He probably just feels that there's nothing that can entice him to go anywhere than where he's been, and it's nice to see loyalty in football these days. And you know, I'm not suggesting there should be, because people have to, you know, do what's best for them and in their careers, both financially and going to sort of challenge yourself. But he can't do himself any harm if he goes and bags a hat-trick on the first week of the season and scores some impressive goals and carry it on. I remember watching him last year down at the Vale. I was very impressed with him. So there's no doubt people will be watching, no doubt people will be interested. If he just carries on doing it with Fylde, you know, they'll probably offer him more, give him better contracts to keep him to stay. At some point, he'll have a decision to make if he hasn't already had it, and we'll see where it goes. But if he ends up in the EFL, we're not going to be surprised. But if he stays in the National League, with the fact he stayed already, we probably wouldn't be surprised at that either.
Do you see him leaving before the deadline? For me personally, not. I think scoring a hat-trick on the opening game week, he's been there too long to leave under those circumstances.
No, I mean, that sort of thing doesn't help Fylde's chances of keeping him, because he'll be on the radar. You know, who's this lad who scored a hat-trick on the first day of the season, backed up with what he's already done. So, no, I mean, there's been no, or I could be wrong, but I don't think there's been any sort of rumours around him moving to the EFL, unless, you know, the Fylde fans can tell us a little bit different, or those guys up in the Northwest can tell us a little bit different. But you never know, Luke. You never know, because you know, he bags another hat-trick or a couple on Saturday and has an impressive display again. Then someone might take a punt on him because he started the season well, and he's in good form, he's fit, he's scoring goals. They may pick him up, but I can't see it. It's more likely to be January if he has another good 6 months.
I think every side in the National League would probably take Nick Horton. You know, for me at Halifax, I'd love to have a player like that. You know, I could see a side like Oldham signing him. I could even see, you know, we talk about Southend needing an attacking midfielder. I know it's a bit of a geographical different location, but for me, you know, he'd be a perfect fit for them. But we don't know to the extent to Southend's resources if they'd be able to make signings like that, because you would have to offer him a lot of money, because he's clearly settled at Fylde. And maybe it's a case of, you know, he's been in the Football League before with Salford. Maybe it's the fact that he's settled at Fylde. You know, he knows the players around him. He gets on with the fans, and you know, life's just a bit easier for him at Fylde. You know, in the National League, you know, he scored 18 goals last season. He knows his surroundings, and that might be why. And maybe he has ambitions to get promoted with Fylde, because I think eventually that is the ambition for Fylde, is to get into the Football League, because that's what they were working towards before they got relegated from the National League last time. And I think that has to be the aim eventually for them. Also talking about transfer news, before we do get on to the predictions, one thing that's come out tonight is Idris Kanu. Gillingham have actually offered him a deal for Idris Kanu, which is according to Pete O'Rourke, who's on Twitter, who's quite a reliable source. Carney scored 7 goals last season in 40 appearances for Barnet, and I think he's a well thought of winger across the division. Maybe not so much by Barnet fans, but no, for Barnet to reject that, what's your personal thoughts on that?
Well, Barnet aren't going to. I assume he started on Saturday, did he, Luke, against Halifax? So, he's in the starting 11. Clearly, he's part of how Barnet want to play. And if Barnet are going to go for the league, they're not going to want to lose that. Not suggesting their best players, but they're the players that are in their starting 11. Again, it'll come to a point where there'll either be an offer that's acceptable, and every player is replaceable, especially Barnet. They've got a big squad. But at this moment in time, they're thinking, well, Idris Kanu's more help to us than the money in the bank or whatever it may be. Because what you've got to imagine is, Luke, is with the transfer window coming to a close very, very shortly, they've got to find a replacement for him. And that's not quite as easy as it sounds, because there's a lot of teams looking for players all the time. So they've got to go and find a replacement for him if they let him go. Yeah, he may decide that he wants to go into the EFL, so he might push for the move. In the background that may be going on and discussions are going on. But listen, no club in the first 2 or 3 games of the season wants to start losing players. But same time, you don't want to sort of step in the way of someone who wants to sort of progress. So we'll see how that one pans out.
Yes, a lot of criticism by Barnet fans. They say that he's quite. He hasn't really got any end product. He falls over often. But every time that I've watched him play, when he's come up against Halifax, when I've seen him on TNT before or in highlights, he always impresses me as a player. He's the type of player that I'd love to see him at Halifax as well. On Saturday, I thought he would probably Barnet's best player in the first half, particularly. I think he had our wing back on strings until we put 2 men on him in the second half. And then there were no one for Barnet that really stood out to me after that. So, for me, it just he's still young, still raw. I think there's still more to come from him to grow into an even better player. So I think Barnet fans should be happy to keep hold of him. I know I've seen fans online saying that would take 100 grand for him, but I just feel that there's no need to get rid of him. They've clearly got squad depth, and for me, I think he's one of Barnet's key players. He's one of the best wingers in this division on his day. So for me, I think Barnet should be looking to keep hold of him, and that's something that clearly Dean Brennan is wanting to do with rejecting the bid. On other transfer news, the final one before we come on to the National League predictions, according to Rob Law from BBC Radio Tees, he caught up with Darren Sarll, and he says that they're always looking to add good players to the squad. Gary Medine falls into the category. Pools are working hard to get a deal done, with at least 2 other clubs interested in signing the forward. Gary Medine, Campbell, Diasavuwe up top. That sounds deadly, doesn't it, for National League level? What's your personal opinions on him dropping into the division?
Well, firstly, I think it's testament to the quality of the league that players are willing to maybe come out of the EFL and come and play in the National League. The fact that it, predominantly a professional league and full time, and that he'll want to come and make a difference. I don't know how old Gary Medine is. He's been around, but he'll want to come and make a difference. He'll want to come and score goals, get a bit of form, enjoy his football again. Those sorts of things. So, the way Hartlepool play, they're quite industrial, aren't they? They're quite direct. They'll be tough and strong and physical. So Gary Medine fits that sort of profile as a centre forward. He doesn't suffer fools gladly. I remember from his days playing for the likes of Sheffield Wednesday when I've seen him play. So I think he'll fit them perfectly. And I guess it's just, who are those other 2 clubs? Are they Football League clubs? Are they offering him more money? But he's not signed for anyone at the moment, Luke, and he'll want to play football. So a great signing for them, and that front 3 is just big and strong. And oh gosh, you know what? It would be, I wouldn't want to be a centre half playing against them 3.
No, I certainly wouldn't either. I wouldn't fit in centre half either as someone who's 5'2" anyway. But that's for another day. But no, I think him going to Hartlepool, that'd be a great signing just for his experience as well. He didn't play last season at all. I think he didn't have a club last season. So for him to drop into the National League, for me, although he's 33 years of age, I still think he's got another season or two in him to score a number of goals there. So for me, I think that'd be a great signing for Hartlepool for the experience as well. But yeah, you talk about the other two clubs there. You'd like to think, would there be EFL clubs or would there be National League clubs? And if they were, you'd probably guess that or estimate that they're going to be in the north, wouldn't you? And you're just looking at those sides there. You know, is it an Oldham? You wouldn't think so because they've got Ghana, they've got Norwood, Fondop. You wouldn't think that it'd be Oldham. You know, you wouldn't think it'd be like an Ultranham because you don't think they'd be able to afford his wages. Filed, I can't see them signing him either. Although that would make geographical sense with him playing for Blackpool previously. Is there any other clubs for you, Paul, that spring to your mind who we may go to?
Well, I mean, you could look at EFL Division 2 sides, I suppose, and the likes of Salford. There's loads of teams up there if he wants to stay the northwest, the northeast. But yeah, listen, he's going to want to go somewhere and play football and play minutes. And I guess coming to nationally with the caliber he's got more likelihood of a chance of playing more minutes in the National League than he may have in EFL 1 or EFL 2. We also don't know what his circumstances may have changed, and he just wants to go and enjoy his football and not have that pressure. So I think it's great for the league that sort of qualities comes in, even if it's at the back end of their career. You know, Wealdstone have got Adrian Mariappa as an example, who's been brilliant from Premier League down. You've got James Henry, who's just signed for Aldershot, who we discussed. You know, the likes of those sorts of players are welcomed in the league because it just shows the quality that it can attract. And as fans, you want to see sort of the best players, even if they are towards the back end of their careers sometimes. So, you know, they could easily just sort of sack it off and decide not to play. But to be able to, to want to come and play in the National League, I think it just proves what a good league it is.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be uncommon for someone like that to drop in. We've seen it a number of times. You know, Paul Mullin, Norwood's come into the division before. Like you've mentioned, Mariappa, centre-half that's got Premier League experience before. And there's so many other names. Even Rob Elliott, when he went to Gateshead, I don't actually think he played, but he was a signing at the time. He was like a player coach. You know, even players like that dropping down to the division. It speaks volumes about the division as a whole. Final then live chat looks before we get on to the predictions. We've had David who's come in, our Maidenhead fan. Maidenhead 0, Eastleigh 2. Eastleigh good value for their win. Once going ahead, it's only one game in, so impossible to form an opinion on that. Yeah, Maidenhead aside, I've put you down again. Is that going to be a trap? I still don't know. I don't think you can read much into game week 1. Paul, you had them to survive, I think 16th, didn't you? And then Caroline has come in and said it was disappointing being 2-0 up, but Forest Green are a very strong team. Yeah, with the amount of money that they've got, I think for an opening game week, it was probably the most entertaining game out of all of the games alongside Gateshead v Ebbsfleet. And then we've had the Blues News podcast. This is a new Southend podcast for any Southend fans that are watching. I know he spoke to he's got a few interviews lined up. I think he's got a bit of a series there. So for any Southend fans that would like to see that, please give him a sub on YouTube. Yeah, we're both very well. Thank you very much. And yeah, I think we're probably in a position to get on with the predictions then. So before we do that, please remember to like and subscribe. We've got over 80 of you watching at the moment, which is great views for game week 2. Also, we've got a membership scheme now where you can become a member if you would like. You can use your club badge in the live chat. There's also going to be extended interviews for you guys to watch in the future and other various perks for those who are already members. Please let us know any suggestions for that you'd like to see being a member. It's exclusive to you. And then these are the predictions, the prediction league after game week 1. And I'm delighted to say I am in the lead with 9 points. Paul sitting on 3 points there. I thought first when I looked, I thought, I bet Paul's beaten me this game week before sitting down and thinking about it. And then he comes and sends me a message saying he's only got 3 points, and I worked it out, and yeah, he did only get 3 points. So, yeah, what's your thoughts on this then, Paul, for an opening game week?
The less, well, let's put it away. Less said, the better. And this week I've had my 10-year-old daughter Connie has helped me, so hopefully we'll do slightly better. She watches Wealdstone home and away and knows the team, so she's helped me this week in hope that I might get more than 3 points.
You're going to need more help because you don't want to be wearing that Barnet shirt again at the end of the season. And I think we'll have to up it as well, Paul, this season. If you end up losing, we'll have to get a blooming Barnet hat and everything, a Barnet bucket hat for you to wear at the end of the season. Now, I'm only joking, but no. Yeah, we're in a position to look. I think for myself, though, not a bad game week for the opening game week.
Decent,
9 points, solid. I couldn't believe when I worked it out. But this is how the table looked at the moment. Gateshead leading the way after game week 1. Love to see Halifax in 7th where we finished last season. I think I'd take that now. Dagenham, a side that, we both, I think I predicted to finish just in the top half. Oldham, of course, won on game week 1 against Woking. Not the most convincing win, but still a victory there against Woking. And then Ebbsfleet, Braintree, Boston and Maidenhead. If those 4 went down, that wouldn't even be a bad set of predictions, to be honest, if it ended up finishing like that. But yeah, we'll go on to bye round. Then we'll go on to the first game week. And it's Boston versus Forest Green. Boston coming into the division and Forest Green also coming into the division, both from different ways. Let's have a look at who are the favourites then. Forest Green getting a point on the opening game week. Let's see who everyone's thinking will win. Favourites for this game then are Forest Green. How do you see it going then, Paul?
Oh, it's another tough game for Boston United, isn't it? After not winning on Saturday, then having to come and then play Forest Green. They're at home again. Hopefully they'll have a big crowd. They'll take sort of encouragement from the fact that Aldershot did score 3 against them, so they're not impenetrable. But I just can't see Boston getting anything here. And I've actually gone for a few away sort of wins, etc., which is always a bit tougher, isn't it, for away teams? So I think Forest Green will win 2-1. They'll be a bit too strong for Boston, but I don't think they'll run away with it.
I think for Boston, it's a bit of a missed opportunity if they can't pick points up from this game, because they've been gifted 2 home games in a row for them to just get into the National League. And for me, you'd like to think we'd be just getting promoted, you'd be able to get a bit of momentum. They've had quite impressive crowds there. I think they had over 2,500 there on Saturday, and I'd expect quite a similar crowd for this game. So, for Boston, it would be a missed opportunity, I feel. Especially if they lose this game. Losing your first opening 2 games, both being at home, will be a little bit disappointing. But I can't see past Forest Green. We've heard from all the Aldershot fans. I've seen the highlights, and they look a really good side. And from what I saw from Boston on the opening game, they just seemed like they weren't ready for the National League. And I think that's going to be the issue this season for me. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 Forest Green win, and most people, I think everyone is actually backing Forest Green to win. Get your predictions in, guys, as well. We've got over 70 of you still with us at the moment, so let us know your predictions as well in the live chat. We encourage as many people to get their predictions in as possible. And then the next game that we will have a look at, another side with 2 new sides in the division, both sides coming from the National League South. Braintree v Yeovil, both sides lost on the opening day, of course. Yeovil losing at home to Hartlepool and Braintree losing to Oldham away. Favourites for this game, then I'd expect it to be quite tight. We'll have a look and see what people are saying. Yeovil are strong favourites for this game. Is that something that you'd agree with, Paul?
I have put Yeovil to win 3-2, and when we spoke to Mark Cooper, he's very keen on that sort of front foot attacking football, and they've just signed a Yeovil lad back from Ross County, haven't they? Who's a winger. So I think Josh Sims is his name. So he's been playing in the Scottish Prem for the last couple of seasons. So he's coming down to play in the National League. A great signing for Yeovil. So I think they were probably a bit unlucky on Saturday. I did hear Mark Cooper's post-match interview, and he just said we just got to be better and take our chances. So I think this will be a high-scoring game because Braintree obviously shipped some goals at the weekend against Oldham. Yeovil want to play on the front foot. Braintree have certainly got the firepower on paper. So I have gone with a 3-2 win to Yeovil, but I think it will be an entertaining game.
I'm going for a totally different prediction. I'm actually going to go for a 1-1 draw. I think it'll be quite low scoring for me. Two sides just getting promoted into the division. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I can't split the two sides for me. I think Braintree are going to be a different outfit to what we saw when they were in the National League South last season. Moving on to the next game now then that we will have a look at. So we go to your boys, if it's there. Yeah, Wealdstone versus Oldham then. Wealdstone come into this losing in the opening game week to Dagenham away. Oldham come into this after, the first win on the opening day in over 9 years. Let's see who the favourites are for this game. I've got a pretty good idea who it will be. Yeah, Oldham are the strong favourites for this game, but this is another difficult game for me for Oldham. We spoke, haven't we, about Wealdstone. The pitch for me is quite tight and it's quite small, and then you've also got the fans are really close as well to the action. It's quite a difficult place to go for me, Wealdstone. And I don't think Oldham are going to find it easy, but I'm actually going to go for a 2-1 Oldham win. How do you see it going?
Well, I had discussions with Connie, and she sort of said, "What do you think, Dad?" And I was wrestling with it. I was looking at the positives. We're at home at the Vale, which is difficult to come to. We should have a decent enough crowd. We got a new manager. It's his first home game, so we'll be behind him. We've got a bit of a voodoo over Oldham. They don't tend to want to beat us for some reason. But they're going to be buoyed by their win on Saturday. They're going to bring a few hundred down. So Connie and I have gone with a Wealdstone 2, Oldham 2 score. So we'll see. 2-2.
Optimistic 2-2 draw. Then we'll have a look at the next one then. Let's go to York v Tamworth. York getting a point all the way down at Southend on the opening day. You'd like to think a better point for York than it was for Southend. And Tamworth also getting a point against Sutton on the opening day. A little unfortunate not to be going away with 3 points there. For me, for this game, though, I think York is going to be a difficult place to go this season. I think, they're going to score a lot of goals, and I'm actually going to go for a 3-0 York win. Let's see who the favourites are for this game. I think York will be strong favourites. Yep, they are. How do you see it going, Paul?
Very close to yours, actually. I've gone York 3, Tamworth 1. It's very similar to what you're saying there, Luke. As what we were saying about York last year, I think it's the complete opposite this year, and they've got to be really positive that they're going to have a really good go. So I know I predicted them 8th, but they get off to a really good start, and I think they could be one of the surprise teams. So yeah, York 3, Tamworth 1. I think you're right. Just a bit too much firepower. Hinchelwood plays a really good brand of football, so they should be an exciting team to watch. And at home, they'll get 4,000 or 5,000 if they start well as well, which Tamworth aren't going to be used to that. So tough game for Tamworth, and I think York will come out 3-1 winners.
We'll have a look at the next game then. Let's have a look at. Let's go to Rochdale v Dagenham. We've actually had a Rochdale fan who's come in and said Rochdale are strong at the moment. Of course, Devante Rodney fully back fit now this season. He actually scored 2 goals on the opening day v Boston away. And they're playing against a Dagenham side that also won on the opening day. For me, I think this is quite a hard game to call as well. See who the favourites are. Rochdale are the strong favourites for this game, but I'm kind of leaning towards going for a draw. I'm actually going to go for a 1-1 draw. How do you see it going, Paul?
Obviously, I saw the Daggers on Saturday, and they were pretty toothless up front. I know they scored 2 goals against Wealdstone, but as I said, I think we gave them the goals. Dion Pereira's a threat, but we made it easy for them. And I don't think Rochdale will be quite so forgiving when it comes to creating chances. So I've gone with the Rochdale 2, Dagenham and Redbridge 0 score. Rochdale, I think, are going to be strong at home. They're going to be more organised. Like we said, they've had that investment off the field, so they're going to be a little bit more settled. They've got some quality in that midfield through signing the likes of Taran Alaraki and Aaron Henry, as well as the lads up top. So I think Rochdale are going to be too strong, and we'll win 2-0.
Yeah, they're aside for me with predictions. I've put them quite low. I think did you put them for? Where did you put them, Paul? Was it
I put them in 13th.
13th. Yeah, we both put them quite low, but something that I will speak about, if Devante Rodney stays fit, which he hasn't done, to be honest, for a full season in a long time, then I think, Rochdale, for me, they're going to be right up there this season with him going forward, but I just can't see it. And, I think Rodney's probably a striker that should be playing League Two, if not League One. He's clearly proven himself in League Two before, so for me, I think Rochdale are still fortunate to have him. It's just a shame that he can never stay fully fit for a full season. But no, we'll move on to the next game then now. Let's have a look at Ebbsfleet v Barnet. Two sides that, of course, lost on the opening day. Ebbsfleet were battered by Gateshead away, back at home now. And Barnet losing to Halifax. Not the best of starts for either club. I'm actually going to go for this game. Ebbsfleet, I think, will be okay this season. I'm actually going to go for a 2-2 draw for me. I think Barnet are going to have a bit of a slow start to this season and come good later on. How do you see it going, Paul?
I think they're going to show a little bit of bounce back ability, and Ebbsfleet, the Barnet's firepower is very good, and their attacking strengths are there. So I've gone with a Barnet 3-1 win. I just can't see Ebbsfleet recovering enough against a team like Barnet, and Barnet are going to want to get some points on the board. So be a tough afternoon for the Fleet, and I think they'll lose 3-1.
Eastleigh v Fylde we'll have a look at then next. Both sides also had good opening game weeks. Eastleigh winning away at Maidenhead. We've always seen that that's a difficult place to go for sides in the past. Another place where you're very close to the action there. Fans can get on top of you, and also the pitch is also quite bobbly as well there. And it's a bit of a slope at Maidenhead as well. I think as well now. But Eastleigh managed to go there and get all 3 points. Fylde, defeating Solihull was probably one of the shocks of the week, or some might say that. But no, for me, Horton, of course, Fylde have got used to Bath City. They've got loads of players going forward. Eastleigh, McCallum's still there. He actually started on Saturday as well, which will be positive signs, I think, for Eastleigh fans. But I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. How do you see it going, Paul?
Oh, I've gone for exactly the same. Yeah, 2-2 draw. So both capable of scoring. Eastleigh's one of those teams that I think we've sort of put the dampeners on, haven't we? We're not too sure. The manager, their recruitment's been okay. They're just one of those teams that just go along, and we don't talk too much about them, and they'll get a result here and there. So, I think being at home, it's a nice playing surface, and I think Fylde they'll be up for it and buoyed by their win at the weekend. So, 2-2 draw for me too.
Let's have a look at the next game then now. We'll go to Solihull Moors versus Maidenhead. Both sides will be wanting to bounce back. Both sides lost to the two sides that we just previously talked about, which is a bit ironic. Favourites going into this game, then you'd like to think it would be Solihull. And they are the strong favourites. And I'm going to back Solihull to win this. I think they'll win 2-0. How do you see it going, Paul?
Yeah, I've gone the lowest scoring game of the game week. I've gone with Solihull Moors 1, Maidenhead 0. Maidenhead don't give up too many goals. They're okay defensively and always have been, and they certainly set themselves up not to lose if they can and try and get results. So Solihull are going to have a good amount of quality. A lovely playing surface there throughout the season, so that's going to help them. So Solihull Moors 1, Maidenhead 0.
Everyone seems to be backing Moors for this game, I think. 1-1. The optimistic Maidenhead fan has come in. They're about 2-0 and then 1-0 Solihull as well from that game. Next one that we will have a look at then. Let's go to Sutton v Altrincham. Sutton recently relegated, got a point away at Tamworth on the opening game week. Altrincham won against Woking, but not the most convincing win. Tyler Golden, previously played at Halifax, just signed from us, scored for them on his debut. But for me, when I've seen the highlights and from what I've heard, it didn't sound like it was the free-flowing, attractive football style of play that Altrincham were playing last season. It felt like it was quite a cagey game where Woking were probably the better side. It's not the best signs for Altrincham. Of course, at the end of the day, it is about getting the 3 points, and that's something that they did do. But for me, I'm I'm not so sure about Altrincham this season. I'll be honest. Losing Con Clark as well. I'm actually going to go for Sutton to win this game 1-0. How do you see it going, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, a difficult thing for Altrincham, and it's easy to say. They didn't impress. Obviously, we didn't see the highlight. The goal was a fantastic goal by Tyler Golden, bent right in the top bins from the left hand side into the right top hand corner. So what you got to consider is, Luke, is Altrincham had a player sent off after 12 minutes. So you're going into the first game of the season against a rugged team. I would suggest Woking will probably be, but probably not the best quality. So to play like near 80 odd minutes with 10 men to grind out a 1-0 win's decent. I know, Dale Gorman, who has come from Barnet to play for Woking, got sent off on his second yellow card, in around the 50th minute, which I'm not surprised about because I watched him play for Barnet last year. And I don't think he knew what the white ball in the middle of the pitch did unless he was taking a free kick. So, I'm not surprised he got sent off. So, you've got to take the positives out of that. A 1-0 win, play for 80 minutes with 10 men, play for half an hour, 10 men each. I would take that against something like Woking. But I'm with you. I've gone with the Sutton win. I've gone with Sutton 3, Altrincham 2. So another sort of high-scoring game. Sutton are a young side. They're at home. I think they're going to be buzzing around, up for it, want to get out of this league. And I can see that being a good football match, actually. And, Sutton 3, Altrincham 2.
Yeah, I think it'll be quite a good game as well, this one. Someone's got a nice Hoffenheim shirt. Luke, yeah, I've got that on tonight. I've got a few German shirts now that have come.
What about my Mickey one?
I haven't seen yours, Paul. I can't even look at it now. Where is it? Mickey the Mouse. Yeah, we have a contrast. We need your footy shirt on next week, Paul. Get the Barnet shirt back out again.
I'm too fat for football shirts, Luke. We'll stick to Mickey Mouse.
You'll be able to wear that Barnet shirt, won't you?
Oh, no, yeah.
But no, we'll move on to the next one then now. Let's have a look. Woking v Gateshead. Just spoke about Altrincham v Woking. It's a good time to bring on to this game then. Woking, aside for me, that I do fear quite a bit this season. I'll be honest, and I could see them slipping through the net and dropping down, especially with the financial issues that they're going through. And Gates said it's not the sort of game that I think Woking will be wanting to play at the moment against a side that have just put 5 past Ebbsfleet. I think Gates are going to win this one again. I'm going to go for a 3-1 win. How do you see it going, Paul?
I've gone with 3-0 actually, and Woking are really struggling. They could only name 4 subs. I think can you name up to 7 in the National League now? And they could only name 4 subs. Most clubs will at least name 5, I should imagine. They've lost their captain, Dale Gorman, who's probably one of the more experienced and better footballers in the Woking team. Potentially he won't be playing Saturday. So all of a sudden, are they down to 3 on the bench, and who's going to replace him? So Gates said they're not going to fear anyone the way they played on Saturday, and they'll be able to play. Woking's got a lovely big pitch, great playing surface for football as well. So, God, I fear for Woking. It could be a battering. So no doubt Woking will now win. That we predicted that Gates said will win 3-0 or 3-1.
We'll move on to the next game then now. I think Hartlepool versus Southend then. Let's have a look at this game then, Paul. How do you see this one going? Quite a hard one to predict.
A real National League game, isn't it? Pace and power and aggression and physicality and it's going to be a good game. That I've gone with 2-2. I think Southend can still do a bit, even though they may be struggling for that sort of finishing article. But 2-2. It'll be Southend will play more football. Hartlepool will be strong at home, but I can't really split them.
I can't split them either, to be honest. I think it'll be a difficult game to call, but I'm going to go for a different score. I'm going to go for a 1-1 score for me. It'll be good, interesting to see who the favourites are for this game. Yeah, they are favouring actually Southend to win this game, but Hartlepool winning on the opening day, being at home now, you'd think there's going to be a big crowd there. Southend got a point on the opening game week. They probably were going into that thinking we should be able to get 3 points. But this is a difficult place to go, I think, for Southend. A long way to go as well. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Next game then that we will have a look at I think we are on to. Are we on to the final game now? Have we done that? Yeah, Halifax versus. Oh no, we haven't done Oldham. Have we done Oldham? Yeah, we've done Oldham, haven't we? Halifax versus Aldershot. Then my team versus the Shots. Then looking forward to this one. We always seem to have quite good games against Aldershot. Two sides that I think have quite similar histories. You know, both being Phoenix clubs, both similar sized. I think both don't have the biggest budgets in the league, but are both pretty successful as well at finding hidden gems. Of course, both do play contrasting styles as well. Yes, it's a really hard one to predict for me. If I'm being biased, I go for a Halifax win, but I just think it's a hard one to predict. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Halifax win for this game. I think another 2-1. How do you see it going, Paul?
Well, Luke, just so you know, Halifax will probably lose Saturday because I'm saying Halifax 2, Aldershot 0. So I think
not this
Halifax,
again, Paul.
Yeah, I know. Halifax at home, listen, please don't at me, any Aldershot fans. But yeah, I think Halifax, they're going to take a lot of heart from beating Barnet, who are the favourites. They're going to, like I said, they've got a few new players in. They seem to have impressed. Aldershot, not quite as potent up top, although they did score 3 goals. So, I think it boils down to Halifax being good defensively, Aldershot not being quite so good defensively. That's why I've gone with the 2-0 Halifax win.
How I see it going into this game, I just think Aldershot will come at us and they'll try out scores, and you can't do that against Halifax because we'll just defensively sit tight, and then we'll just catch them on the break, and I can see us doing that again against Aldershot. Of course, they did actually do the double overs last season, but I think going into this game, I think we'll be all right. I think we're going to win this game. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win, but I think it's going to be a really tight game. So yeah, I'll go for a 2-1 win, and that wraps up the predictions then. So yeah, these are the scores on the doors for those that are interested. Please also remember to like and subscribe to the podcast. Also, if you are watching and you'd be interested in becoming a member, please do. Thank you to those who are members at the moment. I think we've got Caroline and Ash who have become members in the last few days. So thank you very much to you two for becoming members. Let me know if there's anything else you'd want to see as being members. And for anyone else out there that would want to be able to use like your club badges in the comments. And I think there's also going to be perks that I'll introduce as well for those who become members. Please do. £2.99 a month, and all that money will go straight back into the podcasting, getting a new microphone or something, because I know that's something that I do need to invest in, to be honest, as mine's broke now. But no, that's for another time. But no, Paul, thank you very much for joining me once again.
No problem at all, Luke. Thank you very much. Enjoy your game Saturday. You going down to watch?
Yeah, I will be going down to watch. Fortunately, I'm going to be commentating as well.
Of course.
So please keep your eyes out for that. Hopefully, I don't embarrass myself on the BBC. But no, I'm looking forward to that one.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine, Luke. You were fine when we did it down at the Vale, so you'll be fine. Just enjoy it and do it with a smile on your face. You'll be fine. Yeah,
fingers crossed. Anyway, but no, Paul, thank you very much for joining me once again. Thank you to everyone that has also tuned in tonight. We've had some great numbers throughout the stream tonight. So we hope that a lot of people do return. A lot of new faces as well that I've noticed in the live chat. We encourage a lot of more people to obviously get involved in the live chat as well. There was, I think, over 80 people at one point in the live chat. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of you out there that haven't subscribed either. So please consider subscribing as well. And we will see you next time. Bye for now.